Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. We are, oops, let me not cover that part of my screen. Hi, I don't have any commands set up right now. Did you want my age? Is that what you were looking for? I've seen people use that command before, or try to. Obviously, it doesn't work because I don't have that set up. I'm 27, but I think it says so on my Twitch. But hi, hello. We're co-working a bit today, which means I'm currently transferring my notes from my phone to my documents so that I can actually work on the computer instead. We're gonna be just kind of scripting, and in between we'll take some breaks. We shall see how this goes. Have some stuff to do. I really, really wish that there was more royalty-free music that I liked. No, not age, good age. Oh. I said like that made more sense. Did not make entirely more sense. But I do vaguely remember somebody explaining that once, but it has slipped my mind. As my best friend always says, I have slept since then. And when I sleep, whole hard drive gets wiped. You'd seen 50 First Dates? It's not far off. Horrible memory problems. But yeah. Oh, we've got also, in case anybody is not here for ASMR, which like it's not ASMR, but like the microphone, as you can see, is very close to my face, and I do have snacks. I have very crunchy snacks. I don't know if it'll blur it out. I hope it doesn't. From Siete, we've got there we go. Fuego. Oh, I actually rolled it up so you can't see it. Fuego chips. So, last time I ate these, somebody was like, "Are you eating Takis with chopsticks?" I was like, "No." But I would eat Takis with chopsticks. They're so good. I love them. But they're very crunchy. And the microphone is very close to my mouth. So, in case that bothers anyone, just a heads up. I have a habit of also speaking while I'm eating, so we'll see. This little screen in the middle, we have let me put the link. The link is like a smart thing to have put. I should have done that. I didn't think about that. Copy on the link. What's everybody up to today? We've got this still going. This is the last month that it will be going, so we have quite a bit to go still. Although I like the 4666, that's a cool number. Hopefully a lucky number. But we've got like 20 days left before we have to get to that goal, so I will be keeping that up, but I will also be using that screen for when we take like aardvark breaks, or I have to show you guys anything. Our screen is a little smaller than it usually is because we're just chilling. We're just chatting while I work on my shit. There's so much structuring that I have to do today. Ooh, cold, rainy day. It is weirdly hot again, but the temperature bounces around a lot lately, where it's like, oh, it's freezing outside, and then you go back outside the next day and it's like, why am I sweating? Why? So, let's see. Actually, if I remember correctly, I have to look this up actually now. If I remember correctly, my friend Dylan used the lo-fi beats girl as like royalty-free music. And I'm gonna look that up. Can I use lo-fi girl music on Twitch? It's like the suggested things. Like, okay, type. Yes, we allow and encourage music creators. We allow and encourage content creators to use our music. Thank you, Lo-Fi Records. Okay, how can I use it in there? Play from the radio in your stream, or use the Twitch soundtrack that's for Twitch exclusively. Okay, well, let's see here. Let's see. I do want to credit it on stream, so what I might do is change the sharing thing from the GoFundMe now that you guys have seen it, and the link is over there. I'm going to go into my Thorth, and we're going to edit my source. So we're going to be right there. So let's see. The Lo-Fi Girl YouTube radio. Dash. And then we'll just adjust the crop. Christ, that's loud. Fucking hell. I did not mean it to be that loud. I don't need to do that. I'm not trying to capture her chat. This is something I should have thought of before, but you know, that is simply not how things work sometimes. It's very fun. Let's see. Sorry if you guys are gonna watch it go back and forth. There we go. Okay, that's what we're playing right now. I'm gonna lower it slightly. Oops, I mean a mute stream. I know, 1 second. I'm in mines. There we go. It should be better now, but I can still change that. Why does that have an audio error? Oh, for fuck's sake. Is it working? You know what? Good. We're gonna take the W because it's saying that my audio driver is needed, and I already installed that and already have that. So I don't know why it's telling me that it's needed. But if you guys can hear it just a little, then like that's fine. That's okay. We'll take it. We're good. All right. Moving tabs. I actually script a lot on my phone. Hi. Thank you for the follow, Siren Faye. Just a reminder that I now have redeemable bits here, which means that we can always redeem to hydrate or to stretch or do a posture check. Actually, those are pretty. Oh! Can you hear it now? We'll go piece by piece. It's not a Patoot stream if there aren't tech goblins in the beginning. You can hear it now? Tight. Let's just hope that this is a nice level. And I don't have to turn it down again. We'll hope. We'll pray. Let's see. Yep, okay. That works. But yes. Make sure you guys have water and you hydrate. I'll be drinking a lot because I'm eating very spicy chips and I'm sweating. I'm already sweating. To be fair, I'm wearing like a hoodie and a beanie, but I was kind of chilly and now I'm like, warm. Okay. All right. I'm gonna start working. So everybody on Twitter voted to work on some scripts. So working on, I can't share. Sometimes, usually when I work on stuff, I share screen with you guys. I can't share the screen on this because these aren't going to be streams. These are going to be YouTube videos and in podcast form for audio form. It was a very spicy chip, that one. That one went straight to my throat. That one like scratched on its way down. In between working, every time I look at my phone, text from my best friend who's watching My Hero Academia for the first time. It is very fun to see somebody else react to the show that you know really well. Yeah, it's about the feeling right now. That's it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Everett's, though, they're my favorite chips. I can take spicy food, but like these are... I love them, and I have to stop myself from eating more than I should, but they do warm me up. Hopefully I'll be able to take these with me when I move to Germany next month, because it's gonna be fucking freezing, especially with the gas crisis going on over there. I'm gonna be very cold. I should probably take those with me as like a heat source. But yeah, that's why I'm not screen sharing this with you guys. But if I reach a certain point with these, then I will start to work on motherfucking, what's it called? I'll start to work on some coffee Ko-Fi shop items, because we do have some streaming kits and stuff to work on, plus some pre-made ones that we want to make. I can't wait. I really want to have 2 monitors so fucking bad. So bad. This 8 different like tab and thing having open life all in one motherfucking screen. Jesus, my brain is just gone. Is not it. This is not. I don't like it. In college, I got used to having 2 screens, and now I'm spoiled. I say got used to, it's like oh, I haven't tested. No, I haven't been at uni in like fucking almost 5 years. Jesus, where does the time go? All right, let's see. Here we go. There we go. We're rearranging things. I've been told the keyboard ASMR here is really nice, so you guys will get that in a minute. Also, this tiny desk, this tiny desk is ass. I am not gonna miss this tiny desk when I move. I won't have a desk when I move, but like I don't care. Just not this tiny cramped thing where all my equipment is just shoved together. Okay, I don't script a lot of video exclusive stuff usually, so this is pretty cool. It's very tempting to like look at the scripting and be like, maybe before I script it, I should do all of the graphic design assets for it. And it's like, so help me God, bitch, do your job. I mean, that's also my job, but that's like the fun, easier for me stuff than like scripting very serious long videos. This is the video series that I've been promising, that I've been talking about on Twitter, about safety in remote creative workspaces. So like safety in actual plays and streams, and healthy work environments in independent production studios. Can I guarantee everybody is going to do what I say in these? No. Do I think they're going? I don't know. I can't even lead the horse to water in this case, because I can't make every production studio fucking read this, but I can at least fill the fucking trough. So if somebody wanders up ready to drink, there's something to consume, you know? So I'm taking all of the notes first step and compiling them into different categories. So different episodes. Let's see. I can't believe I have to do a fucking... It's not going to be a whole episode, but I can't believe I have to do a segment where I have to explain to people that, like, you cannot get high at work just because your work is remote. Because not everybody is going to be able to be okay with that, going to be able to deal with that. And, like, if you get too high, you can no longer implement safety tools. I wish this was something that's only happened once to me, but it has literally happened like 5 times. Where like I had been in a friction and somebody has been so high and like said it very suddenly that they like could not work, but they would not leave. I had to explain that to a student, so I'm not surprised. Ugh. Thank you for the hydrate. But yeah, it's... Yeah. And like, again, none of these materials are to shame anybody for doing or using anything. I have been very open about the fact that like I am a like, what's it fucking called? Twice now recovered, officially, alcoholic and shit. So like I understand. However, I also could not go to work drunk. You know, it's not safe. My high school teacher and a student told me about getting high at work, and I'm like, sir, you work in a place with a fryer? What the fuck? Literally, it's not safe. And people react to this specific like notion of safety tools of like you cannot be high during an AP, you cannot be high during a stream. Like as a general rule, they're just like, well, you just like hate drugs. It's just like, no, actually my problem was I liked them too much. Second of all, nobody cares what you do in your free time. Nobody cares what you do in a place where nobody else is responsible for you and you are not responsible for anybody else. But in an environment where you're like sharing a workspace, and you are responsible for each other's safety, you need to have your facilities about you, or you're not in the right mind to be able to maybe react to an X card or use an X card when you need to, or take care of your fellow players. It's bad enough when like a fellow player is the person doing this, but I have, of course, also had the experience where like the person in charge of the stream was too high to count. And I was like, how are you supposed to be implementing safety tools if you are off your face? And I wish it didn't have to be said, but it is going to be a part of the video that like I'm going to have to explain to people like it is not a personal attack. And it is not trying to police you, but for safety purposes, it's not safe to just show up high, you know? No, it's I'm scripting the safety videos, and one of the things I mentioned that like I wish I didn't have to tell people is that like you cannot just show up to work high just because your work is remote. Like if you are streaming with your friends and you talk to each other about it and you decide it's a risk you're willing to take, you do what you have to feel safe with it, and you guys have agreed for some reason that it's fine, then like I'm not gonna like bust into your stream and be like, I can't believe you guys are high. Like if I'm working with you and we're working together and you're either in charge of a stream or I'm in charge of you because like I'm producing a stream for you, or we're like both players and you just bust out with like, oh my god, I'm so high, I'll kill you. The fuck? No, don't do. I can't threaten people in these videos. These are like HR type like videos. I can't do that. This is not Cam Girl Interrupted. I can't lean into the microphone and pull my Liam Neeson bit. It's a good bit though. Hi Christian, I miss your face. Hi. But yeah, I in some of these videos, I'm going to be explaining that like the reason why is not because anybody has an issue inherently with drugs, which like even if they do, that's also a valid like safety thing of like, I hate being around people that are high, and I'm not around people when they're drunk. That's like a personal thing that I just don't do. And that is fair, and that goes also for like remote spaces. Good. We are gonna amend that shortly, please. I thought you said I'm gonna amend that shorty, and I was like, do you want me to like come to California and beat your ass? I was like, I know you're taller than me, but damn. I'm wearing glasses. You remember when you told me that I was a mango? That shit was funny. I don't remember exactly what you said. I should look that up. I don't know. I have to delete my tweets, my texts occasionally because I don't have enough storage. But what did you say to me? Oh, you told me that I was a fruit. And you meant mango. And I was like, 'cause I'm gay. I like terrorizing my friends. Jude was like, Jude said something, was teasing me, and I was like, I can't, like, and I was being annoying, and Jude told me to shush, and I said, I can't believe you would silence an Indigenous creator on Native American History Month. And he texted me back, yeah. And I'll do it again. I have the best friends. Yeah. Yeah. That was so fucking funny. But yes, please amend that shortly, I miss your face. Plus, now that Halloween's over, you and I both have a bit more time. And, like, I know that, like, the move doesn't really change anything because, like, we're all remote anyway. But it does feel like I was local and I'm moving and I want to see people's faces before I move, even though literally nothing changes necessarily when I move. But still, it does. It really does feel like that. Oh, hello. Ah! That's so cool! That's so cool! Is that your pizza? That reminds me of that. That specifically reminds me of that Zoom call where you accidentally recorded yourself having lunch. And everybody was like, "Whoa, what's Christian like when nobody's around?" And it's like he eats, he has his snack, and he sits there and he waits. I love that you did that. It's really funny. Send a photo of me eating stuff. Yeah, you did. Thank you. You forgot about. I'll never forget about that. That was extremely funny. That was like the biggest green flag of a person to ever happen. Is like. Because people are always like, we don't know what people are like when they're alone, when they're behind closed doors. You accidentally filmed yourself without knowing it when you thought you were completely alone, and all you did was sit and eat and, like, chill. Like, it was very cute. It was very funny. If anybody in chat isn't following Christian on Twitter, you really need to fix your life. I just had, like, the smallest shit because I just now stopped sweating and I was like, let's not, like, ruin. Let's not ruin our body temperature. I am very glad that my few tweets about not being entitled to success were well received, because I was a bit worried that, because I tweeted that and then passed out, and I was a little worried that people were going to be stupid. But luckily, I have a very well-curated environment, and instead people were very well-behaved. Well, people were mostly well-behaved, and I'll take it. Nobody was extremely poorly behaved, and that, I'm sorry, I'm immediately sweating. Some really hot chips. Hi, yeah, I'm working on the scripts for the virtual, like, safety things, how to really be, like, about helping, like, marginalized groups and online spaces, creating genuinely, thoroughly, like, safe spaces in your virtual workplaces. Like, this is specifically for, like, people who do APs, who stream, not just stream TTRPGs, but, like, who stream and stream with other people, and, like, small independent production companies who maybe need to learn HR policies. I will never understand. And okay, here's the thing, I do understand, but I don't. You know, sometimes you're like, I can understand, and, like, in German we have different words for different types of understanding that you don't have in English. So, like, in German it'd be like, ich kann's nachvollziehen, aber ich kann's nicht verstehen. And so, like, what it is like, I can see how you got from A to Z, but I don't understand, because I would not get there from there, you know? So, like, I see what you did, but I do not understand. And the thing I don't understand is, well, I do understand, but you know what I mean. So the thing is that, like, people will make, and this is not an online exclusively phenomenon. Like, I have worked managerial positions at pretty much every job I've had since uni and even before. And I would usually end up in management positions at smaller companies. Even when I worked at like chains, I would work at a franchise. So a franchise isn't the same as like a big chain store where like there's nobody really to report to except like a massive corporate office. But like with a franchise, it's, oh, this is like a person who lives locally who franchised from this big corporate office. But between me and corporate, there's a person, you know, there's a local person who owns the business but does not run the business. And those people do this also a lot, where like the first thing that people skimp on or completely neglect is HR. And that is so wild to me because it is honestly the most necessary arm, like, or branch of like any business, period. Like, I do not understand people that have a company with like employees, plural, you know, like I understand like my own stuff. I don't hire people except like on a freelance basis. Yeah, like kind of like that. Like I used to work at a gym that is a franchise, and I can't say the name. Also, I don't want to dox myself, but like I used to work at a gym that's franchised. So the person who owned it was this guy who lived in the city that I lived in, and he was an accountant. He was just rich, and he decided that he liked that gym and he could afford to he couldn't afford it, but he could pay for it, which is this is the first problem. He felt so entitled to success in this franchise that he didn't think about whether he could afford it so much as he could pay for it, and then felt entitled to success. And that was like the first mistake that like so many fucking people make, was that they'll too big, or that they go too big when they actually can't afford to do that. And so what he did was he put a fuck ton of money, right? He opened the franchise. He like the building remodeled, blah, blah, blah. He hired me as manager. So I was the general manager of the whole like gym, which technically means that I'm in charge of hiring. I am in charge of training staff. I also work on the floor occasionally as like an instructor and a trainer. And that I'm in charge of all of our B2B marketing, so all of our business to business marketing, all of our partnerships, all of our events. I was in charge of everything. I had no assistant. I was working 56 hours a week. This is the first illegal thing he did, where I needed HR and I did not have HR because I was HR, because I was not allowed to hire an HR person, and he did not hire an HR company. Which, like, what you do with a franchise like that is like, if they don't have something in place already, which they didn't, you outsource to an HR company to have a representative that works your case. Like, that is like, okay, like if we have an internal problem at the gym, we can like send a report to this HR company, and they have like an HR professional who will deal with it, ideally, you know. And so we didn't have that because he wouldn't let me do that. And so, and I'm not an HR person. I told him, like, I'm not an HR person. So, like, the first illegal thing that he did that I would have needed HR for, but I couldn't because I didn't have one, was I only got paid for 10 hours a week. But I was working 56 hours a week because I had to. Thank you. I had to work 56 hours a week in order for me to get done. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. And that's a mentality that, like, a lot of marginalized people grow up with, and we're aware of that. Like, you know, you can work hard, but it can also be that like sometimes shit happens and it doesn't work out. It doesn't mean that you should lay over and die. It just means that like you have to accept that that is how things go sometimes. Versus like very privileged people do not see it that way a lot of the time. And so what this rich dude did was he panicked all the fucking time. He would not let me do my job. He kept me from hosting events with other businesses because he was worried that this wasn't exactly the right perfect business. And I was like, it might not, like, there is no perfect other business for us to work with. We're a fucking gym, and you keep wanting me to work with food places. There's only so many health food places where we fucking live. Like, be realistic. This is the best we can do, and it will get us like a lot of like people. And so I was working and not getting paid properly. I had no one to report that to. And then what he did was he worried about the finances all the fucking time. and he would go over my head and hire and fire people, which is my job. Which also, what it does is it creates a hostile work environment between him and me, between me, him, and corporate, because I had to report to corporate. And it was through a corporate meeting that he kept dipping on. So it was always just me and corporate. We got along very well, like the corporate rep that was in charge of our franchise. And I'd said something once about having to have worked overtime. And they were like, well, you know, it's a good thing you make the $24 an hour. And I was like, it's a good thing that I make what? I made $8 an hour. I was like, excuse me? And then she was like, yeah, you know, because management makes $24 an hour. Do they now? I brought that to the owner because that is something that I should have been selling. Like, first of all, management, $8 an hour, that is a joke. But like, it's heinous. That was, I made $80 a week for working 56 actual like hour weeks running his business so that it did not crash and burn, because it was its first year. It was the first year of that business being open. And it was all on me, and he was constantly threatening my job security, which is also something that we needed HR for, but we didn't have because he wouldn't get one. So those are already, first of all, those are also like massive legal liability like issues, because like what people often think HR is for, and what a lot of them are in the end really for, is it's okay, don't feel too bad for me. I quit eventually, and they went under during the pandemic, so it's fine. People get what they deserve. But like, they went under real fast too. I left. They were about 6 months. Then the pandemic hit, and they were done. And I was like, yeah, it's because he didn't listen to me, and I know my shit. But what happened was he told me, oh yeah, we can't afford it. And I was like, okay, well, you hired an extra person without asking me, and their pay with mine would be closer to what I'm supposed to get paid, and we didn't need the extra person. So what we could do is fire them so that we could afford it. And he was like, no, we need the extra person. I was like, no, we don't. He was like, yes, we do. And I was like, no, we don't. And he was like, yeah, but I worry because like, what if one of you calls out sick? We just need more people. I was like, if you can't afford to pay me, who is your foundational stone, enough, then you can't afford to pay more people. And if you can't run the business with one less person, then like you can't afford to run a business. And that's like what a lot of it boils down to, is like people are like, I can get the money to start this. Can you maintain it? Can you maintain it at a living wage? And that's why me and a lot of my like contemporaries, especially in this industry, don't have studios. Apart from the fact that like most of us can't get the cash even if we want to. We know that where we're at, we can't sustain it. We can't promise people jobs. We can't make sure everybody's getting paid enough. And so we can't, and we're transparent, and so we don't have companies. That's just it. We just don't have a company. We work within what we have and what we can do. But then you end up with a lot of these places. Oh, absolutely. But then you end up with a lot of these places that do what this dude did, but in an online space where like they have a production studio, or they have a little production company, or they're like an indie company. They're a startup, but they aren't like you spend 5 minutes there and they will immediately be like, this is our mission. We're about inclusivity. We're about diversity. And it's just like, how are you paying your people? And what does your board of directors look like? First of all, what's the as above, so below here, which is another thing that we're working on in like the scripts. And what you end up finding almost all the time is that like either people are getting paid horribly. People are not getting paid evenly. I've been in productions where I had like We're the Millers moments. You know that scene where he's like, you guys are getting paid? Like I've had scenes where like I was on the phone, or I'd be like on a Zoom meeting with like other cast members, and they would mention something about their payment being late, and I was like, And then they'd be like, oh yeah, I know it's not a lot, but I like that I get like so and so much money, and I'd be like, huh? What do you mean? And they'd be like, well, I only get so much money per episode. I was like, you get paid? I don't get paid? The fuck? So, transparency is a really important thing that is an important thing, like, sure, like morally, but it's also like important because like all of these things that I've like mentioned so far, they feed into creating different layers of like a very hostile work environment, which like a lot of people understand. Like what I'll have to do like in these videos is like define hostile work environment, which like a lot of people think that a hostile work environment is only like your boss is like yelling at you, like just yelling abuse at you all the time, or like you're getting majorly bullied by a coworker, or like explicitly, you know, or that you are being like explicitly sexually harassed, like to the point where like somebody walks past you and grabs your ass every day at the water cooler. And first of all, most people's images of workplace hostility are like explicit violence. And also most of them have the idea, most people have the idea that workplace hostility can only exist in physical spaces, which is, both of these are like patently untrue. And so what I want to do with these videos is show people also like all of the different ways, or not all, because it's impossible to teach people everything. Because like I am also like, I am one person. I'm not an entire HR company. But like there are so many ways to breed hostile work environments. And I've been in many of them. Many of them. And I am somebody who is very forward and very direct and like will not hesitate to be like, no, we're not doing it like that. I'm not doing that. That's not happening. No. Which like that already is something that like, depending on like the environment, a lot of people would no longer feel like they can do. And like, frankly, I'm not going to lie to you. Can I do it? I did it. Has it often resulted in me getting less work or getting paid less or being the first to be let go? Yeah, absolutely has. The last IRL job that I had was an absolute like HR violation nightmare. Like nightmare. The TLDR is the first thing that pushed me to leaving was they had me doing extra work beyond my contract for some extra compensation, but not a lot. And I wasn't given enough hours to succeed in the tasks that I was being given extra to my work. So I was like working extremely hard without enough compensation and without enough time to try to do work on top of what I was hired for. At some point, I had to take an extra hour because it wasn't going to be able to get done. And I got in trouble for clocking an extra hour in for doing extra work. And I was like, well, I needed it. You needed this done. It got done. This is what it took to get done. I don't understand why you're mad. And they were like, well, I just think that you need to remember that working the creative parts of the job, I was running their social media, is a privilege. And privileges can be taken away. And one thing you will never do to me is threaten me by threatening to revoke labor I'm doing for you. Privilege my ass. I looked that man right in the face and went, okay, you're right. I don't want it anymore. And he was shook. The man was upset. He was like, what? I was like, I don't want it. You're right. I was hired to do X, Y, and Z. So if you think that this other work is impeding on my ability to do X, Y, and Z, then I shouldn't have it. And I won't do it anymore. And I will only fulfill my contractual agreement. And I walked away. And I did not do their shit any. Their social media crashed so hard. It was funny. It was very funny. Because it went from me doing it and like maintaining like 20,000 followers for their platform and like getting like a lot of engagement and stuff to somebody doing it who like showed up to work once a week and like had like just posted like the bare minimum, got no engagement. It was horrible. It was really funny. 2 weeks later, I had 2 accidents and I broke my wrists. In independent incidents. Happens. Anyway, I broke my wrists. So I came to, and the second one that I broke at work because they wouldn't accommodate the first one that I had broken. And they made me use the other hand to do the exact same physical amount of work. And obviously it couldn't take that and it snapped at work, which is fun. Which is extra fun because workman's comp. Which meant that basically they made it as difficult as possible for me to access healthcare for the injury I sustained at work. And then they started harassing me. The owner of the shop started calling me outside of work on my personal cell phone, trying to get me to admit that I had a pre-existing injury that would somehow mean that I was committing fraud or that I hadn't actually broken it at work, even though you could see me break it on the cameras, which is very gross. And he would call me and like harass me on my personal phone, like on the weekends and like the mornings and shit about it. And there was nobody I could go to because he was self-appointed as HR, which is a big problem that a lot of people who are in these smaller companies, these smaller communities do, because what'll happen is you'll have somebody who is your boss or who's in charge of like an AP, let's say. And you say, you come maybe as a producer and you're just like, okay, well, what happens when somebody has a problem? Who do they go to? What is your way to supplement HR? And then the boss will say, oh, well, I'm so open to learning. You can just tell me. Okay, Daddy Warbucks, let me get on your lap and explain all of the ways you have me fucked up and see if I still have a job afterwards. Because there's no one to complain to if the person you're complaining about is the person you have to go to. There is no mediation. There is no safety. There is no guarantee for accountability. Nobody's going to say anything. And then that breeds a hostile work environment. Because I couldn't complain about like fucking name. I couldn't think of a fake name fast enough. It's like, I couldn't Adam. There we go. I couldn't come to my boss, Adam, harassing me because Adam had self-appointed himself HR. So I couldn't like hang up on Adam and then call Adam back and being like, hi, Adam, you're harassing me. And I'd like to file a complaint against you for harassing me. I couldn't do that. There was no way I could do that. I was like, absolutely not. That was not going to happen. That was not going to work out. It was going to go really, really horribly for me. And it was already not going well because the first thing they did was the law says here, the law where I was, said that since I hurt myself at work, if I could no longer do the work because of the injury, then I was supposed to be sent home on paid leave and somebody else would have to take over my shift and get paid. So basically they'd have to pay an extra person. He could afford to do that. He didn't want to do that. So instead, he put my lobster clawed ass. I had 2 casts on my hands and wrists. And he put me alone at the cash register and told everyone they weren't allowed to help me. It was January. Do you know how many people shop in January? 1 million. It was heinous. And they did that because they wanted me to quit. Because if I quit, they don't have to pay me anything anymore. Duh. Which, like, I did. I did eventually quit, so I was like, fuck you. Well, I couldn't, like, flip people off because I hate that it blurred that out. Excuse me. So my channel, we're allowed to flip people off here. Yeah, we're family at this company is a really, really, really big red flag that I see in a lot of smaller groups and companies here because, like, it's lovely if everyone gets along. And it's cool if you work well with your friends. But if you have a payroll, if you have a company, if there's employees involved, you can't just be like, oh, we're like family. You can talk to anyone about anything. That does not make it a safe space. It actually makes it a very unsafe space that will breed a lot of resentment because people won't have anywhere to go if something happens. They won't have anybody to talk to. Or worse, they'll do the thing that happens was that, like, if your boss is like the HR person, if your boss is like, oh, just tell me directly, I'm open to learning. What happens is nobody goes to boss because they're not stupid. There's the possibility that they know that, like, it's a trap. And what's going to happen is boss is not going to learn because boss does not want to learn because boss actually already knows that what he's doing is wrong. He just does not care and wants to continue to get away with it. So like what'll happen is boss will feign accountability. You will get fucked up in the process indirectly. By like you will have your workload shortened, you will have your hours slowly cut, you will be slowly phased out, you will be the person that complained, you will be the person that hurt boss's feelings. Like, you're in a bad position, and then you're still going to be suffering under the shit that you complained about because the person you complained to has nobody above them to hold them accountable and absolutely no system in place to make them change the behavior. Exactly. Or what will also happen is if you don't complain, because you can't, and boss is probably also doing this horrible behavior to other people, the employees will start to talk shit to each other. It's not a very trust-breeding environment. Because if you have this familial, colloquial, like, setup, then what'll happen is, like, you've got boss up here, employee one, you. You know, maybe you and employee one, you're on the same level. Boss terrorizes you, terrorizes employee two. You both have to be nice to boss. Because boss pays you money. And boss will fire your ass. And boss will maybe, like, in a very connected industry, boss maybe will talk shit at you. Maybe if you make a fuss, boss is going to make it hard for you to get hired somewhere else. Because in an industry where people mostly rely on like word of mouth to get into different productions, like the entertainment industry, it is very risky to speak up about things. Because you have to be afraid, and especially once marginalizations are involved, it gets infinitely more complicated. You have to be worried that like this is going to affect your career and livelihood that you've worked very hard on. So what happens is you can't trust other employee because other employee is palling around with boss and then talking shit about boss to you because you have nowhere else for this to go, like for these feelings to go. And so you have to be like, do I risk openly venting about boss with coworker? Or like, and is this going to stay between us? Or is coworker going to tell other people? Is this going to get back to somebody who's like a fucking bootlicker and is boss going to find out? This creates an environment where like you don't know who you can trust. You don't know who to complain to if you can complain to anybody. And there is no system in place to actually ensure safety. If anything, what makes it worse is that a lot of times these kinds of people will weaponize safety tools, which is an insane sentence. But like a lot of times people will learn accountability language and they will learn safety tool lingo and they will maybe even set them in place. But knowing safety tools, like the XNO system, like Lions and Veils, knowing those is only half the battle. You still have to make sure that you have the two other things in place. One, that you are creating a situation in which it is safe to use these tools. Also, that you are creating, in this like perspective, like that you are creating a situation in which it is safe to complain because the person you're complaining to is not directly involved in your hiring and firing. And two, that you have the system in place at the end of it to actually deal with the complaint in a way that satisfies the person that needs something, the person that's being hurt or being neglected or being put in an unsafe situation. And usually what'll happen, unfortunately, is that like those two things aren't there. So what you have is empty safety tools that can help on the surface a little bit, you know, like keep people from being like blatantly misogynistic. Like it'll keep people from being blatantly transphobic, for example. But it will leave the door open for people to be like, no, I don't know if this is appropriate. I don't know if this is okay to say because like I don't want to trigger you and I don't want to upset you, but, and then they're going to say the thing that is potentially upsetting or triggering or offensive or transphobic or hurtful in any way. But because they've put all of these disclaimers and they're like wooifying themselves and you don't have the environment in which you can complain or a system in place to actually source like accountability and educate, you can't do anything. So like in an ideal situation, I'll go through all of this much nicer in a scripted fucking video, obviously, but like in an ideal situation, you would have an environment where like you do have a contact person. Like what I really like is like I'm in shows. I've been in shows for Friends Who Roll Dice, and what I really like is that like apart from the GM, we have a contact person. Like we have a person who's like, hi, I'm like not in the stream, but I am like your point of contact on this project. So like outside of like the GM, outside of your tech producer, outside of your co-stars, you have a person who's like, hey, I can slide into your DMs and be like, I'm having a problem with this, and that, or I'm not feeling very heard, or I don't know how to communicate this properly. Can you help me? Can I talk to you? That's a safe practice. Like that fulfills step number one. Step number two, really, because step number one is having safety tools at all. But like this prerequisite of the environment of like, I have someone to complain to. I have somebody I can safely voice an issue to, and will not like result in something immediately like hurting me potentially, because this person's on the outside. So I can talk to this other person, I can talk to this producer, and they will field my complaint and they will make sure that I am safe. So in an ideal world, let's say you're having a problem with something that the GM is doing. Let's say like that, maybe let's like do the most good faith example of like the GM didn't mean to play into a transphobic stereotype. It's possible they didn't even know that that's what that is. Because a lot of times you'll see stereotypes in character design, and sometimes people will legit not know their roots. Like how a lot of like villain designs are like inherently queerphobic and also anti-Semitic, and a lot of people don't know that. Because you don't come into this world with all knowledge. You have to seek it out and acquire it. You know, as we know better, we do better. So like it could be that is affecting you. Nobody else has said anything. You don't know if you're going to be seen as hysterical. You don't know if you're going to be seen as like being pedantic. You don't feel safe. Maybe you're the only person of that specific marginalization. Like maybe it's a diverse group, but like this is affecting you in a way it doesn't affect other people. So in this world, you're like, okay, I have an issue with something that is in the game. I don't know how to bring it up because like maybe you have safety tools, but you're worried about it. So you're just like, okay, I'm going to reach out to person C, who's not involved in the production, but is like my contact for this production. And I'm going to explain the situation and what my worries are. So I'm going to be like, hi, we had this come up last game, and I didn't X card it because I wasn't sure how to deal with this particular delicate subject. And like, I wasn't sure if I could say anything. So like, how do we deal with that? And then the person in contact will be like, thank you for telling me. You know, and then they will talk it out with you, and they will suggest conversation. They'll be like, do you want me to mediate a conversation between you and the GM? Or would you like me to speak to the GM without involving you? Would you like me to make it an anonymous complaint? Like, would you like me to... Because sometimes you don't want to X card, and like this is not a common scenario, ideally, but sometimes you would want to X card because you don't want to be the one who says something in case... Because, like, in good faith, this is an ignorant mistake. But it is not impossible that this is actually a malicious belief that this person has. And you don't want to risk being hurt or attacked. So what you could do then is, like, have this outer person do it anonymously and be like, hey, GM, last game, we had this and this topic. They could even pretend it's them. I've had GMs, I've done it as a GM before, where like if somebody wants to X card, I do offer that like they X card to me privately, and then I pretend that it's my X card, and I'm just like, actually guys, let's X that, let's rewind, let's take 5, we're gonna break, take a minute, rewind, do something else, make sure everybody's good, just for me, because sometimes you don't want to have to say that it's you, because it's vulnerable. And so what you could do is have this external person be like, hi, GM, this and this, like, imagery, it feels very, like, X, Y, and Z. We think, like, I think that's not what we should do with the show. I think we shouldn't do that. And then, like, ideally you would have a conversation, like, in good faith with each other. This is obviously very ideal. Like, you would have a good faith conversation, like, or not you, but, like, the GM and this, like, third person. And then you would be able to go to the next session, and it's been taken care of. And the third person has an eye on it because they've been made aware of the issue. And so going forward, you now have that last puzzle piece of ensuring actual change that matters. Because the third person is now aware that that was a problem and is going to be able to clock it in future and be like, hey, a few episodes ago, we said don't do that anymore. And I see that kind of on the horizon again. Can we make sure that that stays out? And so that way, like, that is a way to create a safe environment. Now, the opposite example of that would, for example, be an environment where, let's say you have safety tools, technically. You have a little document that says lines of mails. You all know how to use an X and an O card. I've also found that a lot of people don't know about the N card. So I will also be doing like a video just about safety tools where we're going to go about fucking everything, and I will give you all of the fucking documents that I have on that shit from the massive toolkit, like just the massive link to it so people can explore themselves, but I will also be explaining it. Because a lot of people don't know that there is an N card. They think it's the N like D and D, like and. And the N card, like when you say X and O, you're not saying X and O. You're saying X, N, O. X is stop immediately. N, which like sometimes you do like the N. N is we don't have to stop, but we do have to pivot. Like let no more escalation in this at all. And then O is we're okay. We're good. We're cool. Like O question mark, O confirmation, we are good. But the N card is actually a really important card that I've used several times before because it's basically another tool to make sure that you don't have to X card. Because sometimes like an X card can feel too intense because it's not like an X card is more like we need to stop and take a break and like we need to stop immediately with like that line of questioning or like that line of like what we're doing. But an N card is like, okay, we've reached a point where I'm still okay. Everybody else may be okay. You do an O, you do an O. Everybody's okay. But let's pivot. Let's focus on something else. No more escalation at that point. It's a really important card that is very important to me that other people know. Because I've had a lot of people now who thought from hearing it that like X and O cards are X and O cards and no N card. And it's like, no, the N card is my favorite card. The N card is the best card. Yeah, exactly. It's like a warning to the GM of like, I'm going to get uncomfortable, but I'm still okay. And it also means that to the GM, like, okay, this is a new area that like I should be more aware of that you guys can talk about afterwards. So like, let's say like in this bad scenario, which like I'll give you guys real scenarios. Like I'll give you guys real shit that I've had to deal with here. I've also the good thing about me being able to talk about shit is that like I've worked on hundreds of productions in the last year alone. There's no way anybody could be like, oh, I know you're talking about X, Y, and Z. You can't possibly know that. I've worked with hundreds of people in the last year because half of it, not even, fucking 80% of my career is one-shots, which is another reason why I'm so passionate about this project and about safety tools is because a lot of people that produce one-shots skimp extremely on the safety in that, which is really shit. Yeah, exactly. So like, because they're like, oh, well, you know, we're just coming together briefly. It's fine. It's like, no. If anything, I think that when you do one-shots, you need those safety tools more than ever because very often it's a group of people that I've never met before. They don't know each other. We don't know each other's boundaries. I don't know how you banter. I don't know what your jokes are. I don't know when you're joking. I don't know when you're serious because I don't know you. Or like sometimes like it'll be me coming in as a guest star to an established group of players who are friends, which can be very difficult, especially if like maybe I am the only person of my marginalization in that group, which like I try to never be the only person of like all of my marginalizations, but it's not that easy to end up in mostly tables of people with exactly my ethnicity, my disabilities, who are trans and queer, you know? So like I will often still be like, oh, I'm at a table, we're all POC, but a lot of you are cishet, and I have to keep an eye on that, like for my safety. Or like I have to make sure that nobody drops a fucking T-slur out of nowhere because I don't know you. And as much as I can vet people, I am not psychic. And that's why you have safety tools. Because then I can go in and be like, oh, you guys don't have transphobia listed in your safety tools. Maybe it's given to you guys because you guys know each other, but it's not a given to me because I don't know you. So I'm gonna put that in the safety tools as a line. So we're all gonna pretend that in this hour and a half to 3 hours that we're together, that transphobia does not exist. But like now we're in a bad example, right? Like we're in the bad place. So in the bad place, maybe you have safety tools. Maybe you wander in, they kind of have a semblance of safety tools. Maybe it's not very extensive, but they're there. But you come in to work on this project and the HR person is the boss. Or they don't have anybody. You ask them like, oh, if I have an issue with something, like who do I go to? Like, what do I do? And they're like, well, I'm the GM, so I guess just tell me. Okay. Still could potentially go well. This is all things possible. You know, kind of know you a little. And it's been good experiences so far, so like this might be fine. But then you start a stream, or you start you start a session 0, and I'm trying to do this in a way that like is not that it does not end up being obvious. This was quite a while ago. This was like a long time ago relative to like my experience here. But like, you go to a session 0, you have the safety tools. You know that everybody else on the team, like everybody in the cast, is buddies. They get along well. They've worked together before. You haven't. You're new. You don't know the producers. You kind of know the GM. Yeah. You kind of know the GM's, no, you kind of know the producer behind the channel, but you don't know the people that are doing tech and stuff for the show, and you don't really know the GM. Okay, let's go with that scenario here. And then the GM says something racist, and it's not something racist in this overt way that people like expect hostility in a workplace to look like. Where like, you know, it's not like he like looked at me and called me the N word, you know, but like he did, but he did do something racist. And I, you know, you blink, you're like, no, I'm not, it's not that, let's not use that word. And they immediately, and for the dynamic purposes, like maybe you are a person of color and the GM is white and the entire cast is white. The whole cast is white. The producer is white. The tech is white. And the GM is white. And you are the only person of color here. Already, this is not safe. This is not great. And they do the racist thing, and you call it out very gently, as we do when we're in these situations, typically. Like, excuse me, can we not do that, please? And they immediately go, oh my god, I'm so sorry, oh my god, I would never. And then what they always say is like, I would never want to do that. And it's like, but you just did it. But you just did it. So, and then they start with the self-flagellation, which is something that a lot of like people do in this situation, which is not helpful at all. And you are now in charge of like calming this grown man down. You're embarrassed. You're uncomfortable. They didn't actually really apologize. But you tell them like, you know, like it's okay. Like, you know, like just going forward, that's, you know, racist. So like, you know, let's not, he's just like, oh, I would never be racist. I would never. And like, you know, like I'll, you know, whatever, it's fine. I'm like, okay, well, you know, like we'll keep trying and you know, it'll be okay. 5 minutes pass, they do it again. This time, they did it again, you go, you did it again. And they go, oh, fuck. God damn it. Fuck. And then they start beating themselves up. And you're like, again, I'm just going to point it out when it happens. So you can just stop it. So you can just not do it. And he's just like, oh, well, I'm never going to get this. No, you can. I believe in you. You got this. Just don't do this small thing. None of this conversation's been necessary. 2 minutes pass, they do it again. At this point, nobody else has helped you. Nobody else has said anything to support you or to make the other person stop what they're doing. And you are extremely embarrassed, deeply uncomfortable, and you have no tools left. You already said no. You basically X-carded. Like, you said no, and it did not go well. You said no, it didn't go well. They do it again. They do it again. You keep saying, no. So what then happens is you start getting ignored. The person is now full, like the person who's running the show that you're in, the GM, is fully ignoring you. For like 45 minutes, you don't get to play. You get to do anything. You don't get to act. You don't get to, nobody, he's not letting anyone else interact with you. Maybe even like other stuff happens. Like in my case, while that happened, I also got misgendered like 6 times. And I was like, I can't keep up with all of the things that are happening here. So like what happens then is like either you shut down or you have to fight a lot every fucking 10 minutes. And then it's over. You feel like shit. You've been humiliated. You don't know how to go forward because like you cannot do the show like this. But you're scared about the leaving because of how horribly it went in there. And now if there's an actual consequence to their actions, which is like losing a player, which like jeopardizes potentially the show, you don't know how it's gonna backlash back onto you. And now, in my case, it didn't go great. I'll tell you that much. But obviously, I have recovered, and I have a good career. That was mostly because I was lucky that they were so small and shit that nobody gave a fuck about them. And when I left and was open about what had happened to me, people were like, oh yeah, fuck them. And I got very lucky. Because, like, what often happens in the industry is you're in that situation in a bigger company. You know, like Rooster Teeth. And they can do damage to your shit in the industry. Because they're in all of the rooms, you know? I was just lucky this place didn't end up having, like, the power to fuck up my career entirely, you know? Just because, like, I was like, y'all are racist as hell. I do not want to be here. So it's really important to have all these layers in place of, like, create an environment in which it is safe to complain, have the tools in which to voice a complaint or a disagreement, and then have the system in place to ensure meaningful change afterwards. Because, like, what a lot of people, like, if you tell people, like, oh, you need HR, a lot of people's, like, knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, yeah, for liability. And it's like, I mean, on the one hand, yes, I will not pretend that legal issues are not a thing in that case, because, like, you can get sued. Like, people are lucky in the indie space that they don't get sued very much, because getting sued costs money, and it takes time. And a lot of us indie creators and, like, you know, actors and stuff, like, we don't have the time or resources to sue you. We can't do that. I don't have the resources and time to be able to, like, do that. Plus, a lot of these things happen in, like, live spaces. So, like, if you do something on Zoom, and then we hang up, and Zoom is not recorded, the stream isn't anywhere, then it turns into a legal he said, they said. And that gets drawn out, doesn't go well, it gets ugly. It gets ugly very quickly. And it can really hurt the person who was harmed more than it helps. So, like, that system's not really in place to help the person who has been harmed. That system is more in place to protect the people in power to harm. So what I push for when I say that people need HR practices is because you need safety. You should have safety. If you have employees, if you pay employees, but you can't afford one fucking person who is an HR professional, like, you can't afford to outsource to an HR company of anything, then you don't deserve to have a company. Period. Like, if you can't figure out ways to communicate with your staff, and you have like staff, not just like, oh, your friends and you are working on a project, which like really, to be safe, if you can, you should always have some sort of mediation in place. But like if you're like, you know, like Patoot Podcasts, for example, Patoot Podcasts is my network. It's not a company. We don't make money. I actually operate at a loss because I have to pay $20 a month to host all of our shit. I have guests on the show, but they're not part of the network. They were just guests on the show. I communicate with them transparently about like pay and inability to pay. I can't wait to be able to pay people to be on the show. I would really love to, but I can't, and I tell them that, and then they decide whether or not they're okay with it, and that's okay. That's, you know, transparency is the most important thing there. Then I have shows that have co-hosts and co-producers. Like I have the wonderful show, Tubi Movie, the Tubi Movie Pod, with Christian, the wonderful at the Cap Chris, who is like the world's best producer and like one of my best friends, and we love doing the show, but like we do it together entirely. There's no decisions made about that podcast that we don't make together, period. You know, we talk about it, we discuss it, we're transparent. Once it makes a whole dollar in ad revenue, I will be cash apping Christian 50 cents. Ad revenue is really fucking low. I make some off of Camera Interrupted because it's our largest show, because it has like 20,000 fucking listeners in comparison to everything else, which is not there. Even that, I maybe make on Camera Interrupted in this last year total off of Camera Interrupted, I've maybe made $40 made, which is to say all of that went straight back into like the hosting fees, plus like it's already November, so that's not a lot per month. And then I have the slightly older shows like Intricate Rituals, where like once every 3 months I send Jude $5, maybe, if we get that much. And like, I'm not gonna lie, Jude and I are a good portion of our own ad revenue because we listen to our own show on a regular basis as like comfort. Hallie, my beloved, hello. Hallie, somebody taught me how to do the Kermit voice a little bit. I'm not good at it yet, but they told me that the key is to keep my mouth in an oval shape. And I'm not gonna lie, the noise that came out of my mouth when I tried to do that was it was Kermit adjacent, and it was shocking. I don't know how I feel about it. I still don't know how I feel about it. I can't control the voice yet, but it was an experience. Ooh, smart. Kermit would want this. Kermit would absolutely want this. Wouldn't it be fun if you can look up the Kermit and I voice it? No, the Gollum voice is easy to do. That's like one of my own. That's at that point, that's just my voice. After it gets too dry. Sorry, I'm wearing glasses, so they pinch my nose a little bit, so it gets a little harder to do voices. But so. Wait, I'm too hydrated. I say, and then I drink more, but like it's because it didn't do it right. Nasty filtered hobbitses. Kink shame hobbitses. Nasty filtered hobbitses. Yeah, there we go. Nasty filtered hobbitses. Kink shame the hobbitses. Yeah, I need it to be a little raspier, but that's okay. Off the cuff, it's not that bad. Yeah, that's the reason that nobody will watch Lord of the Rings with me anymore, is because the moment Gollum comes on screen, I speak in his voice and only his voice. Like, when he says, thank you, he does have it empty. When he says nasty hobbitses, I would always do that along with the movie, and then I would add nasty hobbitses, kink shame the hobbitses. And at some point, it stopped being funny, apparently. and is now annoying. And then I did it on TikTok and it blew up. I thought people would find it funny. I underestimated how much men would fuck a McChicken if you let them, and therefore I ended up with a lot of people being really horny for Gollum because I was the one voicing it. I would really like it if people got standards. I would like that very much. It'd be nice. I also did that meme with it once where it was like, where voice actors were doing this meme where they were like, oh, this girl I was talking to, like, she was like, oh, God, you're not some, like, creepy, jewelry-obsessed cave dweller. And I was like, baby girl, you don't want to be my princess. My nasty fifth, that's all precious. McChicken adjacent hobbit. Yeah, if it's not porn yet, give it a few minutes. Absolutely. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's what happened. Every time I do a voice, somebody, like, especially because, like, I am mostly a creature, like, not because I can mostly do it, because I like doing it the most, creature voice actor, it gets weird. It gets really weird. People will really fuck about anything in their heads. But yeah. McChicken adjacent hobbit should be a piece of merch. In the fucking song, I'll write it down, why not? I'm writing it down. I have written it down. I wrote it incorrectly, there we go. Yeah, that's true. That is very, very true. But yeah, that's why that voice. But then somebody said that if you're trying to do like Kermit voice, which like I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I don't have that down. I don't have it down yet. I've only done it once, like to try it. I have not practiced it yet. But they said to keep your mouth in like an O the whole time, like an oval shape. Also keep in mind that I am currently still in this hell apartment that is full of mold. Which is why I have the GoFundMe, so I can get out and like get into a nicer place. We have the get out portion mostly paid for. We don't have the place to stay paid for and handled yet. But this is an absolute hell house, and streaming from here is a nightmare. Which is probably why like these like videos on HR policies, I will probably be filming them in Germany, because first of all, I don't think I'll be able to film all of them from here in the next 20-something days. And second of all, because it looks horrible. I can't really film it well. And I can't take the computer with me, which is why we also need to push the GoFundMe, because I need to be able to get a secondhand like computer like this one once I'm over there. Not new, because fuck, that's expensive, but maybe secondhand. I can raise the money to get a computer so that I can continue to work. We do come to the big age-old question of like, do I get a secondhand Mac computer like the one that I have right now that was given to me through an old job, or do I use the money to get a PC which can run more things but maybe is not the same for video, like does not have the same like camera quality and stuff. Life is hard. Some did a voice scale that Kermit, Gollum, Elmo, and Stitch are on the same scale. They are. I can do 3 of those. So we had let's do Stitch first. Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Stitch is the easiest voice for me to do, and it's like the creature voice that's like I go into for fun. Like earlier, I was invited to test a new social media app for like specifically like for podcasters and voice actors and stuff called Shake. And so I actually recorded some stuff for it earlier. And they were like, voice actors, like, what's a line that you like to do? And it was just like, my favorite thing to do is to do villain lines, like really iconic, scary villain lines in my silliest creature voices. So what I ended up doing, sorry, fucking mold. I hate it here. Christ on a cracker, that was a lot. Sorry. My eyes were tearing up, that's why I took my glasses off. Am I good? Are we good? Can we live? Can I live? Please? Fucking eyes water, Jesus. Anyway, please bear in mind that like the voices I'm doing right now, I am now doing with a slightly like clogged nose and mold in my throat. So let's take this with a grain of salt. And if you want to refer back to my talent, you can look at my fucking reels at my talent agency. So, there's like Stitch, so instead of delivering them normally, I like to do it in a silly voice. So like there's the line of like, that one's just me, that's just yawn. Of like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Which like is a fucking badass line. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not built different. I would have just died. It's like it made a compelling argument. Okay. You're right. So, I do, that one is the Stitch voice where I'll say like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Because that shit is very funny to me. And then if you pitch Elmo up a lot and you push it slightly further back, then you get Elmo! Elmo! Tickle me Elmo! You get Elmo. Or you get like the slightly lower like speaking voice for Elmo, which is more like, you pay Elmo. Elmo do a little song and dance for you, sure. So like that's Elmo, which is just higher and a little harder to enunciate than Stitch because you can't use this part of your throat. And then Gollum is lower, it's back on Stitch, but it's more raspy, and it's like, you know, Stitch's Hannah means family, and then it's Elmo. And then you've got nasty, filthy hobbitses. Nasty, filthy hobbitses. King shame the hobbitses. Which, like, that's, like, right here. And, like, in your throat. Which, like, the reason I can't do it as much is my throat's really, somehow both too wet and too dry. And then Kermit, apparently, and this one's going to be the one that's, like, not good because I have not practiced that one, and I don't have any control over it. I've really only done the trick once, so I don't know how well this is going to come out. What does he always say? Hi-ho? Like, hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. Which, like, you can still hear my actual voice coming through in that, and I didn't keep my mouth oval the whole time, but it's the same register. Like, it's the same scale. Like, they all slide down it. It's our Hannah family. Elmo! Still to the hobbitses. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. I think if I plugged my nose a little bit more, Kermit would be a little easier. Because it is more in the face. But yeah, there you go. I'll have to pay you to do the whole M. Bison bit from the Street Fighter movie with both Stitch and Gollum in one day. I mean, I'll do about anything if people pay me to do it. If I, you know, for as far as recording goes. I've certainly recorded far worse. I like saying things as Winnie the Pooh. Aw, Winnie is great. I love Winnie Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. In English, Winnie the Pooh. In German, it's just Winnie Pooh. There's no the in his name. The was very confusing to me in English. Because it's Winnie Pooh is like his name. So I don't know where the comes in, because that makes the like the noun, which like for us it's Winnie Pooh the bear, because he's a bear. Because what the fuck is a poo, you know? But in English it's Winnie the Pooh, which is, or like Pooh Bear, which is interesting. But yeah. They're all the same scale. They're not far from each other. If you can do one, you can probably end up doing all of them with like enough like training and practice and stuff. But yeah, thanks for letting me go on that tangent that I was supposed to be scripting instead of saying. But I will write some more of those notes down. me just write this shit down. But yeah, the base thing of like what I was saying earlier about like the core of like why a lot of these problems end up happening and like why people will end up saying like, oh well, I can't have like an HR person because I can't afford it, and it's just like then you can't have a company. And you tell that to people and they get so mad. They're like, but I want it, but I deserve it, and you don't deserve shit. You are not entitled to success on the backs of other people. You're not. If you want to bust your own ass and do it by yourself, you don't need an HR person. Do what you want. That's on you. You're responsible for you. You're responsible for you. But once you're responsible for other people and their safety, it is not just about you. And you're not entitled to succeed at the cost of their safety. Because that's what's happening. That's what happens in any companies like that. It's like when shit like that happens, it's like they are succeeding off of the backs of people that they are exploiting. Even if they are paying them somewhat, like you are exploiting them. That's what's happening. They're not safe. They are risking their safety working there because you won't implement the things that they need to be safe. And out of the goodness of their fucking heart or maybe their gullibility, I am learning that people are a lot more, which is, I need you to know that like I am autistic as hell. So for me to say that other people are gullible as hell is wild. Wild. But they are. I am constantly shocked when people, when shit comes out online about people being like, oh, X, Y, and Z is really bad. I'm just sitting here like, yeah, I know. I said so. You didn't listen to me. I said so a year ago. I said so a year ago when they were shit to me. Maybe a handful, like my close friends, maybe they listened. Nobody else did. And then suddenly it's like, oh, this person sucks. Like, yeah, I know. I've been saying so. I clocked it immediately. I don't know where the fuck you were, but I clocked that shit immediately. And like, even like with now, it's like, I hate seeing other people go through that shit. I hate seeing how many people it's hurt and affected. But at the same time, I'm like, well, at least I'm definitely not crazy. Because like the first thing that happens a lot of times is that like you question yourself. You're like, well, because you're now in an environment where like you are not capable of complaining. You can't say anything. Everybody else that you can see has to be nice to like a person in charge's like face, because otherwise consequences and like, you know, job security and like workplace hostility getting worse and worse and like more overt if you speak up more, or the more you speak up, put it that way, the more you speak up, the worse it's gonna get for you. So like you're in a situation where like you don't see anybody else in your situation because of the way that this is structured. You don't see somebody else speaking up and then suffering because like they saw you. They're not gonna make that mistake in their eyes, you know? So like you feel isolated and you feel like, am I overreacting? Am I crazy? Like, am I being sensitive? Which like, no, the answer is no, you're not. This is a real thing. This is a real, very common dynamic that like millions of people deal with in so many different industries and jobs. This is the worst thing is that people like perpetuate these systems. Like they're not even original. Like this is nothing new. This is nothing new. This is nothing original, and yet it is still a massive fucking problem. So like it makes me sad when I see that more people were hurt by things, but at the same time, it's validating of like, well, at least I'm not like alone. So like maybe it's not like that the universe was like, fuck you in particular, so much as like the universe was like, here's an asshole, deal with him. And I was like, no, I would not like to. I would not like to do that, actually. But because you don't have those tools in place, and because nobody else around you is able to say anything, you aren't able to say anything without consequence. Or you do say something, and it actually discourages everybody else, because now you have become the scapegoat, or you have become like the example of like why we don't say anything. So yeah, you start playing the blame game, convince yourself it's your fault. Yeah, that's just the dynamic that happens, especially as soon as like there's a position of power in place, like with the boss, which is why you have an HR department. And if you can't afford an extra motherfucker to keep you in line, I had to, when I first talked about this project publicly, when I talked about doing this project and how important it was to me, and I got a lot of responses. You guys might remember the tweets if you saw them. My first tweets about like healthy work environment and stuff, and like safety tools and shit. They very well. And a lot of people, it resonated with a lot of people, which I was very happy that there are a lot of people that are also very passionate about implementing these kinds of like structured like safety systems. But I also got hit up by a lot of very performative production companies. And what happened was they would reach out to me and they would give me the spiel, which like at this point, which really sucks, is that we have come like to a full circle where like if you use certain language, it can either mean, like depending on how you use it, it can either mean that this person is really about it. Really about it. You are about the cause. You are down. Like you are going to do what it takes to make these safe spaces. You are going to do what it takes to highlight marginalized communities. You are going to do what it takes to do the work. Like you are going to do the work to get the results. You are about it. Or, more often, it means you have learned how to virtue signal and create the illusion of safety and inclusion when what you're actually doing is exploiting and tokening. Which is what this company did. That's them. I have their email open. So but I can read this because I'm not naming names. But I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you why, like what the red flags can be. First, because like sometimes they're like these are objectively, this is the tricky part. On paper, these are things like they were objectively good, cool things that were very like possible. And I didn't know anything about the makeup, and this is like a startup. It's not even a real full company yet. Thank you for the reply. Everyone in our growing community, because they had replied to me, and I was like, cool, I'm looking forward to hearing about your HR policies. And they said, everyone in our growing community is hard at work doing exactly what you spoke about. Right now, I'm wearing all the hats until we become an LLC with the goal of making an actual team. However, I have an open door policy to anyone who wants to work with me, including BIPOC and LGBTQIA+ artists, racial sensitivity consultants, writers, players, editors, etc. We're reaching out to indie TTRPG developers who emphasize diversity in their product to create actual play shows with people in it who reflect the content. I'm going to tell you exactly what already felt slightly off to me, but I was giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm wearing all the hats, but we're about to become an LLC. No. You want to make a formal team? Good. Would like to hear what that looks like. These are all things that like could be harmless and can be indicative of an issue. They ended up being indicative of a very big issue. What happened here is that like they didn't actually specify what I was talking about, like at all. Like it's kind of like when you meet like somebody at the bar and you talk to them and they're like ignoring you because they just want to, smash. And they're just like, yeah, I love everything that you're saying. Yeah. Oh, I'm super into that last you said. Yeah. It's like, okay. These are all buzzwords that are good things. You do want sensitivity consultants? That's good. The issue is that like what happens with a lot of places is hire them and then don't listen to them. So that they can then say like, we hired sensitivity consultants, so our product is golden. And it's like, actually what happened is you paid someone, you terrorized them probably. And then you said, cool, we had a sensitivity consultant, and you didn't change shit. Or you hired one sensitivity consultant thinking like, oh, this is fine. It's like one person, no matter how talented they are, cannot cover the broad spectrum of life. So you could hire someone who specializes in like anti-blackness and racism, and they will be able to clock anti-blackness in your work and show you how to fix it. What they might not be able to clock is anti-Asian racism, anti-Indigenous racism, transphobia, ableism. Really, everything else on the planet They might not be able to clock. Maybe they can clock 2 or 3 of the things, but they have no experience with ableism, maybe. Maybe they're cishet, you know? Maybe they can clock a lot of different racial things. They've been in this industry for a long time. Maybe they can clock a wide array of racial insensitivity and racism. But they don't know anything about transphobia. They don't recognize transphobic tropes. They don't recognize maybe anti-Semitism. They don't recognize homophobia. And so, like, you still end up with a work that is potentially deeply offensive. But you are now marketing it as like, was improved by this massive, like, cool sensitivity consultant. It's like, you're doing the performative work. You're so close. So close. But they think, like, oh, we'll do bare minimum of all of these buzzword things, and then we'll be okay. So, like, it could be good. It could be not. It's a thing to, like, keep an eye on to make sure that doesn't happen. I said that was great. I would love to hear about the structure team. They basically completely ignored me and talked about their production process. And I was like, no, I asked about HR. I would like HR stuff. So I was like, what's your HR stuff? Because if you don't have a third person party besides like your GM who's in charge, which is what they basically said they were going to do, I was like, you can create a hostile work environment. They evaded again. And then they said, we have an open door like policy for like discussion amongst myself and the creative, because I'm the creative director, and my partner who will be the business manager. And I was like, so is it just the two of you at the top of the head, like at the top of the company? And this is where like I will do a video that is already titled, it's going to be called As Above, So Below, and it's about the importance of reflecting your company in your boardroom. Especially because like the thing is like, I can't go up to what's a company? What's a company? Condé Nast? I can't go up to Condé Nast and demand immediately that realistically that their boardroom suddenly reflect the makeup of their lowest tier of like worker, like demographically. They're not going to do it. The company's old as balls. They own so many other companies. There is a lot of change that would have to happen over quite an amount of time with a lot of money in order for the above to reflect the below. But if you're a startup, you have no excuse. You're starting at the bottom. Why would you build a house with shit? You're building the house. Wait until you can get a brick. Get a brick. Get cement. There's absolutely no reason to be like, what do I have laying around? Shit. I'll use that. No. Don't do that. If all you have laying around is shit, then you shouldn't be making a house. Crazy, but you know, one would hope people would think that, but they do not. So I was like, who is this partner? And then it came out, oh, it's my buddy from high school. And I immediately knew what the rest of what was going to happen, and I was right. So this is a dude. This is a cis-het white dude. And his cis-het white buddy, and they said something very telling. There we go. Okay, so I was like, to put it bluntly, in your chain of command that we've talked about, are there any POC? Like, any. I didn't even ask if there are any trans people. I'm not stupid. The answer is no. I said, because it might be, if not, it might be a good note to have a third channel of communications. And I'd love to hear about safety tools, because safe tables produce amazing stories. And I still try to be very nice about it. He said, we'll expand the chain of command to people in our community. But this is a business venture. Well, this is a business venture with my friend I've known since high school. I know that another production company run by 2 white guys isn't going to make waves regardless of our intentions. And that was immediate. That was it. That was it. If you're trying to hire POC to break into our space in APs, but it is being run by 2 white people, like white cishet people, and who are directly profiting off of all of the marginalized people that they're bringing in only to get into this space, that is tokenization and exploitation. You don't start a company to make waves in somebody else's space. That is not it. If you would like to support marginalized communities, there are ways to do so. I have talked about this on Twitter, and it will be another one of the videos. How to actually, as a person in privilege, support other marginalized communities. What I'm also going to talk about is how to be marginalized in one way and still support another marginalized community. Because another issue that I do see not nearly as often and not to nearly as much harm all the time overall is wanting to support another community that is also marginalized, like you are, but it's not your community. So what often ends up happening is marginalization A does thing, speaks over the people they say they're trying to help, and then ends up hurting them or putting them in an unsafe situation. Which, like, this can be avoided if you learn how to safely create opportunities for marginalized people. Which, like, the best thing you can do for marginalized people to support them is to give them money. That's really it. That is the best way to make sure that you are not hurting them or fucking up, is you give them the money to do what they would like to do for their community and do what they need to do for their voices to be heard. So it's like, you want to support a marginalized community. You would like to support there being one more, let's say, all black. You would like there to be all black AP that, like, they get to do whatever they want. You would just like to make sure that you are, like, supporting an all black cast. You want them all to get paid properly. You want to set them up to succeed. You would like them to have nice assets. Maybe you have, like, you know, the technical abilities to help. What you do exactly is you pay them. You direct your audience to them safely. You direct your audience to them. You platform them, or you support their platform, and you pay. And then they do that. What isn't supporting is you decide you want to do this show. Specifically, you have a concept for a show that you come up with. Let's just say you are not black. You hire all black cast. You don't hire an all black crew. You do, maybe you're your own crew. Maybe you hire whatever people you want, whatever. But you have your own people. Maybe they're all white. This is also a situation I've been in, by the way. Obviously, I'm not black, but I've been in the situation where, like, I end up in a production that looks diverse at first, and the entire crew is white, and the entire hierarchy above us is white, and all of the people making money are white, and we don't get paid. That's exploitation. The moment you're like, no, I have this idea, and I want to do it exactly like this, and I'll just put you guys in it, and I'm helping, you're not really. You're still profiting. Like, this is not like a selfless act or whatever. Like, if you do what you do, do what you do. In the end, like, if the AP comes out, that's still better than, like, I guess no AP coming out, depending on, like, how fucking, like, good you are about the back end of things. It can still be that, like, it would be better if this didn't exist because the process was so fucking horrible. But, like, you're not just, like, you can't just walk around being like, I'm helping out of the goodness of my heart. It's like, you're profiting off of this shit. No, you're not. No, you're fucking not. Absolutely not. And that happens a lot. And, like, that is, like, still the, like, moderately harmless version, is, like, if you put something together, you don't involve anybody from the culture you're trying to represent in the creation of the thing, is, like, at best, your cast and your GM end up making something amazing because they're amazing despite the fact that you didn't set them up for success. Or they end up getting hurt because they're clashing with the crew, because they're being set up for failure in this scenario, which, like, you might not even have had the intention to do that, but, like, you just didn't set them up for success. You actually gave them roadblocks to work with. Like, maybe your fucking, like, tech doesn't light them properly, like, ever, and it just looks fucking abysmal, like, and it's just all these, like, things that come together, and then there's tensions, and then you've created a horrible experience for all of these people, but you're profiting off of it because in the end the actual play looked good, and you're the one who proudly told everybody that you're behind the actual play, and so now you look good, and, like, you profited off of it. Maybe you made money off of it. Maybe they made a little, but you made money. You made more money off of it. Who knows? And, like, you didn't actually help. If anything, you might have accidentally hurt people. Sometimes not even accidentally. That's me being very nice. So, like, just kind of, like, having people of color in your public as your face, but, like, the entire board of, like, the company and the people that are making the most money, like, are white people. That's exploitation. And it's the same with, like, if you just, like, oh yes, we're, like, we have, like, a lot of, like, very, like, queer cast, and I come to your queer cast that's supposed to be diverse, and it's a bunch of, like, white, mostly cis like just like kind of like gay, maybe gay people. Maybe they're gay. I don't know. Just they're queer. I don't know. That's not a diverse table. And that's not a table that I, as a queer trans brown person, want to be at. Like, there's still layers to all of this. And that's not a bad thing. Like, when you hear this, it might be like, oh God, like, this is so much, so daunting. I don't want to fuck up. It's like, okay, well, not wanting to fuck up is a great instinct. That's good. Ideally, you should want to not fuck up so you don't hurt anybody. Some people don't want to fuck up because they don't want to look bad. That's not good. You should probably unpack that. But not wanting to fuck up is a great impulse. But the cool thing is, like, it's really not that hard. Because in the end, most of what you gotta do is listen. So if you want to support, like, marginalized communities, I'm gonna have, like, in the video, like, I will have, like, nice bullet points. Also, the video, the reason that they're not streamed is because, like, each video will have, like, PowerPoint that you can watch while I'm, like, in the corner fucking talking. So, like, while I'm talking, all of this, you'll be able to follow along. Like, if I'm, like, in that, like, smaller screen, there will be a bigger screen with a PowerPoint, and I will include, like, a link in the description and, like, YouTube to the PowerPoint that anybody can download and, like, read through at your own leisure, so that you can actually, like, work through the steps. Which is the other reason why, like, this is still, like, taking a little bit, is because, like, this is a lot of videos. I'm gonna do them in a lot of detail, because, like, right now, I'm just riffing. This is, like, off the cuff. Versus, like, that'll be a scripted video. It's, like, nice, because I got a PowerPoint and everything. I love a PowerPoint, I'm not gonna lie. I do. I love a PowerPoint. I love a PowerPoint presentation. I love giving presentations. It's excellent. I love it. But yeah, the TLDR of that one's going to be, if you want to support marginalized creators, you really have to kill your ego, no matter who you are. Because in the end, we can all learn things. There's always going to be shit that that I'm not going to clock immediately. That, like, somebody's going to bring to my attention, and I'm going to be like, oh, I didn't see that. You're right. Cool. And now, from now on, I'll clock it. Like, the more, like, I mean, the thing is that you do have to, like, do the work, though. You can't just go through life hurting people and then be like, man, I hope somebody tells me. I see people go through life like that. It baffles me. I can't imagine going through life and being like, damn, I hope I'm not hurting anybody, but I guess I do. I won't know. How? Or, like, worse, people will be like, wow, I didn't mean to hurt anybody, but it seems like I'm hurting people. Well, until somebody holds my hand and teaches me exactly why, we're just gonna keep going. Oh, it's me. I'm like, I want to punch you. Yeah, the important thing is to not be perfect, is to recognize and grow. Exactly, because, like, again, as we know better, we do better. And you will always, always be able to know better. You will never be perfect. That will never happen. Ever. Which is also, like, why you're not supposed to do this all alone. You're supposed to do this with people, but not at the expense of people is the thing. Like, you forming something with your community organically, you all agree, you are all equal here, you all learn together, you all grow together. Tight. You are, however, again, still not entitled to success in any space, but definitely not in spaces you don't belong to inherently. Like, you know, you're not entitled to it. Doesn't mean you can't have it, is also the thing. I'm not saying you can't be successful in this space or in any space. Obviously, people can be successful. And a lot of times people are successful in spaces they have no business being successful in. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying you're not entitled to it. Which, like, that is a thing that is very important to unlearn. Like, you are not entitled to that shit. And a lot of people do not like hearing that. But it is very important to know. Because, like, it changes how you interact with the people around you. Because, like, when I saw that fucking person tweet yesterday, about how unfair it is that if you don't have a diverse cast, your show's just not good enough. I'm like, have you tried not being boring? Like, what are you talking about? Quickly, what are you missing out on? I wanted so badly to be like, tell me exactly what you feel entitled to, white lady, that you're not getting because you don't have brown people and black people in your show. What is it? Quick. However, I don't quote retweet bullshit, so I did not do that. I just made my own post where I was like, let's talk about this as a systemic issue, without, like, grabbing pitchforks on some random person online, because that is actually not an effective way of educating people. And also, I don't want to educate this bitch. Literally, all of the most popular TTRPG shows are majority or fully white. Like, if I try to think about Vox Machina, I'm like, I think all of those characters are white. I don't remember any that aren't, because I'm pretty sure Critical Role is entirely white. Which, like, Critical Role is Critical Role. Nothing I say is ever gonna, like, affect their income. And, like, I don't think that they are all walking around heinous, evil people. But I, a, like, fucking gay, trans, brown person, I don't have to watch it. I'm not walking around telling people, you should never watch this. I'm just not gonna watch it. Also, mostly my reason for not watching is long as hell, and I have real issues focusing that long. That's really it. Every clip I've seen has been very entertaining. I will never deny that talent at the table. But I will be the first to say that, like, I'm not gonna watch something that's all white. I'm not gonna do it. I simply will not. I don't work at all white tables fucking either. And it's not like I think it's inherently gonna be an evil, heinous time. It's just the risk is really big. And I just don't want to go through that as much as I can. Like, I do not want to have to deal with that all the time. And you know what? Here's the thing, and I've said this before. If the money is right, I'll go about anywhere. I could absolutely be paid to be on an all show. But the figure is very high because of risk assessment. How much would it cost me to be at an all-white show? And, like, I would still leave, is the thing. Like, if it's really racist, I would still leave. I would take the money, and I would fucking leave. I'm not gonna put up with anything, but, like, my appearance fee as a performer is typically, obviously sliding scale because I work with a lot of indie companies. To do a one-shot at an all-white table as a player, not the GM, though, you would have to give me $500. Which is, like, for an appearance fee, in general, not the most insane thing in the world. I know people that get more for appearances at places they want to be. But, like, my appearance fee to do an all-white show as, like, a one-shot or, like, 2 episodes is... No, it's a one-shot. It's a one-shot. It's $500. Because the risk is just real high. The risk is really high. I accidentally almost ended up in one, and I tell you, I dodged a major bullet. Major bullet with that one. I can't even go into that one, because that one is too telling. The details are too telling. I can't talk about that one on air. Let's just say it's very good that I ended up not doing that show. I would have had a very bad time. But, like, I've also done shows with, like, and I work with, like, white jams. I have white jams that I love and that I respect, because, like, in the end, you're not immune to learning. You're not impervious to growth. There are many people out there that are, like, wonderful storytellers that create safe environments because they have empathy and no ego, and they learn. It's really wild how easy it can be to do those things. But yeah, killing your ego is very important. It's very important for everybody. I think killing your ego is really healthy. I think there's when you should have one. There's moments where you need to build it up and have one. But then there's also situations where, like, you need to have none. Absolutely none. And when it comes to helping somebody else, you've got to kill any sense of entitlement and ego that you have. You have to. Or it's not going to end well. And it's not going to be really, like, wanting to help them. So, like, if you're trying to be like, I really want to help people, like, I just want to help this person, like, you've got to kill your ego and, like, sense of entitlement. Because, like, that's what we're, like, the, like, really helping. Like, you can support someone, blah, 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 but, like, if you really want to just help, then, like, just help. Ooh, wait. I have notification. Oh. Ah, it's Jude. Again, like I said, Jude is watching My Hero Academia for the first time. It's tight. But yes. obviously you will get a lot more on this and in detail and nicely put in this thing if we ever finish scripting things. Which, let me finish writing down this one thought. I forgot to upload a new BRB screen. I forgot to unmute myself. Hi. Hi. Forgot to do that. Y'all were just gonna let me talk. So in script right now, the next step is twofold, which is to both write out in the script like the production process, and then on the other hand, actually like sort all of these different things into episodes so that from those notes I can make the PowerPoints for the show, which also means that I have to design the layout of the video, and I should write this down. Which means as far as graphic elements go, it's gonna be the first time that I've used PowerPoint, like the program, in several years. Sorry if it got quieter than it's been so far. It's because we're gonna teeter back and forth between the co-working aspect where like I am actually like genuinely sitting and scripting things out as I was supposed to, but you guys always get me talking so easily. But like, you know what? It's good. People learn. It's good. It's entertaining. It's validating. God, my nose itches. I hate living in this fucking apartment. Yeah, basically. I have to do the rough drafting for the videos. I already have like all of the videos together, like that I've like collected over time. I just have to sort them all together, like what belongs together, what should be in a video together. Oops. I accidentally clicked the wrong button twice and it gave me a scary pop-up. Asked me if I wanted to enable dictation mode. I was like, no, I really do not need to see a running tab of my thoughts. Thank you. The babble that comes out of my mouth. You know what we haven't had in a minute? Let us pause the radio. You know what we haven't had? We have not had. Where is it? I'm gonna redeem one. I don't care. They're my own fucking bets. We haven't had an aardvark break, and I really need one. Let's meet. Oh, your browser can't play this video. Why do you hate me? A baby aardvark. Okay, let's mute first to make sure that we don't get strict. The Chicago Zoological Society from 2020. Ah! Can you see this? Wait, is there music or not? There is none. There is none. We're good. It's so wrinkly. Oh. Its proportions are all squished. Okay, let's all relax and look at this really cute baby for a minute. Oh. Excellent. This is very relaxing. Oh. It's the baby and the mom. My God. They are big. The feet are so big. It's sleeping. Kind of. Oh my God, it snores out of its snout. Oh God. This is an excellent arc. I'm not gonna lie. This is top tier aardvark break. Thank you for redeeming hydrate. Damn. That was excellent. 2-minute long aardvark break. That was fantastic. We'll revisit that video another time. Oops, did I accidentally? I did not know that was going to autoplay. Oof. That was a good one. It's so wrinkly. Oof. All right, back to scripting. There we go. Formatting Word documents is a nightmare, like when you're doing the indents and stuff. keep writing labor with the U, like British English. And every time I do that, the computer is like, no, wrong, incorrect. I'm like, it's not incorrect, it's just different. I also don't want those videos to be like mega fucking long. I would like them to be easily like consumable videos. But they're still probably gonna end up being like 20 minutes or something. Yeah, something like that. We'll see what it ends up being, but I don't want them to be. The thing is that like they're not all encompassing, you know. Like I'm not God. I can't cover everything. But I'm, you know, like I said, can't actually lead the horse to water this time, but I can fill the trough, which with like whatever I can. But it's also like not my job to like hold your motherfucking hands through every detail, you know, like. I'm giving the general information. I'm giving some detail. I'm giving solutions. And I can't make a 40-minute to like 2-hour video. Shush. My God. Because other people are like, I've had a lot of people be like, well, what about this situation? What about this situation? It's just like, are you just saying all the offensive shit that you do, hoping that at some point I'll be like, no, that one's okay, actually? The answer will continue to be, no, that also bad. And a lot of it is like, there are a lot of like things that are inappropriate that contribute to a like hostile work environment. Because like the thing about a hostile work environment is also that like it compounds. So like once you've created a basic hostile fucking work environment, every little shit that you do that sucks as a boss or that's inappropriate is just racking it on more. I'm choosing my words very carefully right now. I have worked at places that established a hostile work environment. I spoke up. It did not go well. And after that, the people that I had confronted acted like everything was solved, even though what they basically told me was to go fuck myself. And then acted like everything was great and we're all buddy-buddy and it's all cool and forgiven and forgotten. And it's just like, you didn't know. No. I made it clear that it wasn't, but okay. And the, you know, a boss like situation where like there would be moments where like unrelated to the issues before, or like not really unrelated, because in the end, like what comes down to like a hostile work environment is that like you're not respecting people's safety and or you're not respecting people's boundaries as a boss. Boundaries are very important. It's like a whole fucking thing. Let me see. You write that down real quick. Because like what happens a lot in these spaces that are like online is that there are no boundaries, or there are very, very, very poorly upheld boundaries, where like in the reverse, the boss is safe. The worker's not going to take advantage of the boss. That can't happen. What does happen though is that the boss exploits the workers by disrespecting or disregarding their boundaries entirely and or repeatedly. So that was a big problem, and enforcing my boundaries made it very tense. And it was like I would have to enforce my boundaries on a large scale, and that would be very tense. And then I was so exhausted from having to constantly like defend myself from being exploited on a greater scheme, like work-wise, that like everything on top of that, underneath that was like inappropriate boundary breaking, where it was like, you should not be commenting on X, Y, and Z about me. you should not be telling me X, Y, and Z that is personal. You should not be commenting on X, Y, and Z that is personal to me. All of those smaller boundary breaks would add on to my stress and discomfort, and there was nothing I could do or say about it because all of it would just fall back on me. And it made it so much worse because I was already so stressed out from the hostile work environment that I was in on a grander scale, that every microaggression underneath it made it worse. It was absolutely unbearable. That shit was horrible. At that job, at some point, honestly, I felt like that meme that went around where, like, you get the screenshot. I've said this before, but I'll say it 8,000 times. It's like that screenshot of, like, the Instagram messaging app. And it's, like, a group project. And, like, the first text is from, like, a week ago. And it's, like, so, like, when are we going to meet about our project? And, like, nobody responds. And the second thing is, like, so, like a few days later of, like, so, you know, who's going to, like, when can we, like, meet up to, like, assign all of the parts for the project for, like, the presentation? And, like, everybody gets this, like, thing is just like, can we meet? And, like, just gets ignored. And then, like, the message from today is like, be honest, do you guys want me to kill myself or not? Like, what is happening here? And, like, that is what that job felt like. If anybody's seen Fruits Basket, I was in my Michan era. Like, my best friend would send me clips from Fruits Basket from, like, Michan, like, suffering under Shigure, trying to get, like, edits for him, trying to get an answer, trying to get him to do his job, trying to get him to let her do her job. And she would just be crying, sobbing, ready to, like, walk off a cliff, stressed out. And my friends were like, that's you at this job. That's you at this job. And I was like, yeah, sure fucking is. But yeah, so it's very important to establish and maintain boundaries when you're in the position of power. And I get that a lot of people, like, have the knee-jerk reaction. I mean, when I say I get, I mean, like, I understand that it is a thing that happens and I have no sympathy towards it whatsoever. Is that, like, the people in power, they start and you're like, but I want to be friends with everybody, but everybody else gets to hang out. And it's just like, why the fuck would we hang out with you? You are our boss. If you wanted to hang out with people, you should have gone into community theater. Not this. This is a company. We are your employees. If you actually want to have a nice relationship with everybody at your company, pay them and be respectful of their boundaries. It's like with cats. If you keep trying to make them be buddy-buddy, they're going to fucking hate you. And then if you respect them and give them what they need to thrive, they will be all up in your face, which, like, still as a boss, you need to maintain boundaries, but whatever. But yeah, you can't be equals. Exactly. Like, you can't. You can cry about it. I don't care, but you can't. And that is a big problem. That's a big problem in the space, is that it's not even impossible to navigate, because, like, the thing is that, like, I'm often the producer on shows, which means that I do the hiring in the shows. Never had to fire anybody. Really? It's not true. I have had to fire someone before. We're still friends. It's totally normal, because, like, we were able to separate it. And when we are working together, we have a different dynamic. We don't talk about, we don't hang the same way as we would when we were private. Like, we do not talk to each other the same way that we would when we hang out in private. We've separated it. And I am not, like, the end-all, be-all person in charge. So there is somebody in charge of me. There is a place to go. Like, that's the thing, you know, that I've set up to make sure that we're all good and cool. So, like, it is possible to be friendly with people. It is possible to, like, make friends on a production. But if you are the boss, like, if you are the money, you are nobody's friend. And that's okay. Frankly, as the money, you should just be happy that we're not looking at you like the French looked at the king. That's your goal as the boss, as the money. Your goal as the money is to make sure that we don't want to rob you. That's it. Since we're in an online space, the risk is lower, but let me tell you, it's never nothing. It's never nothing. There are always conventions. No, but, like, Obviously, this is not something that I would include in the videos, but like, it's really annoying when when bosses put their personal feelings, and by annoying I mean like genuinely extremely dangerous and harmful, when bosses put their feelings above the safety of the employees. But it happens all over the place, happens all the time. It's quite shit. But that is something that like, and also like that's the thing, that's why I say you can't lead the horse to water, because like I cannot make the shitty bosses I've had watch these videos. I can't make them watch it. I can't make them internalize it either. But I've put the information there, and what I'm hoping, but more realistically my hope for these videos is that people that are in my position see it. People that are coming from the performer and creator standpoint and becoming the producers and stuff, which like I'm still not the money. One day. Like, I want people to be educated about this so that A, they get the validation about like the shit that's happened to them before that like we can no longer change. B, I want you to be able to recognize when these things are happening. I want people to be able to recognize weaponized incompetence. Which I have to write down. I have to deal with so much weaponized incompetence in this community that like if I ever named names, at least 50% of the people that are like bigger in the space would be fucked. I can say that I'm trans until the cows come home. I can say how I identify and what I am and who I am until the cows come home. It will not stop most men from seeing me as a woman and treating me as such. And I am aware of that, unfortunately. And it means that I deal with an enormous amount of weaponized incompetence at a lot of different jobs. Currently, none that I'm in currently, which is tight. But it is also like the twist of the season, so I'm also out of like a lot of productions and I'm switching. But I see weaponized incompetence so much. And sometimes you witness it not against yourself. Like I also end up in situations where I see someone doing it to somebody else who is like AFAB specifically. And nothing makes me angrier faster than seeing like somebody that I respect being manipulated and pushed into like fucking fawning over a grown ass man. It makes me sick. I hate it. It makes me sick. It is awful. It is awful to witness. And it is awful when you can't do anything about it. Usually, I'll just get into a fight. But sometimes, I don't have the fucking energy. And sometimes when it's happening, especially if it's happening to you, you're so overwhelmed by what's going on and like with the frustration and like shock and confusion that like, and you try. And usually what happens is like, of course, you've got a history of dealing with this stuff. So like you end up gaslighting yourself into being like, I can't say it's weaponized incompetence because like he seems very nice and people really like him and he's really popular. So I'm sure he wouldn't. No, I bet he would. He does. He will. There are a lot of really big named people in the community that weaponize their incompetence in a way that is like vile. Vile. But the issue is that people see this shit as like, there's good people and there's evil people. And it's like, nah. Unfortunately, it is more complicated than that. Especially within the marginalized community. Thank you for the follow. You can't just, like, first of all, calling shit out on the internet publicly. There's circumstances where somebody is causing mass or deep harm where it is useful. And then there's every other instance of anything ever where it is usually not. Again, please remember to go donate to the GoFundMe so that I can get into a nice safe place after I manage to get out of this mold-infested hell. 1 second. They sure do. And then there's the intersectionality of privilege as well that like will give you different blind spots than like other people might have. So there's that. The mold is really molding today. Give me a minute. We'll just sit here for a moment while I try to massage out the pain in my throat. Oh. What I was gonna say is that, like, when you put it on paper online, people over dramatize and oversimplify things to a point where it is no longer productive. And where usually it ends up biting the person who gets hurt in the ass or who's being taken advantage of in the ass. Like, if I went out and I said X, Y, and Z is a huge proponent of weaponized incompetence against me constantly, has made casual transphobic remarks, has casually misgendered me, exhibits a pattern of behavior that is typical for a, let me check my notes, cishet man. If I write all of those things down and I say this person does these things, what's going to happen is I'm going to get my shit rocked. And then there's going to be the fucking idiots that are like, you're just trying to deplatform a fellow POC. And it's like, first of all, untrue on many levels. Two, I'm not trying to cancel shit. I would just like to be treated with respect. Fortunately, these are like deeply ingrained behaviors that like the change must come from within, and there's absolutely no reason, and people are delusional, there's absolutely no reason for these people to change. None. There's no motivation or reason for them to change. It's working for them. It's going quite well. If they don't do it to you anymore, they're just gonna do it to somebody else. And then what's gonna happen is, like, maybe I will tell somebody, maybe I have told some friends that this is something that happens. This is why I don't work with that person that much anymore. You know what's gonna happen? I'm still gonna have to work with that person. And most people are not going to care. And it doesn't mean that they're uncaring, mean people. It's just that, like, in the end, in real life, when you have to deal with somebody who has privilege over you or exerts privilege over you, is that, like, you have to adjust and figure out ways to, like, avoid, handle it, try to shut it down on an interpersonal level, and then go forward with more information. Where, like, am I ever going to hire this person? No. As long as it's up to me, I am never working with this person again. Why? Because I don't need to work with somebody who's like fucking 37, 38 years old and doesn't know how to do basic things, or like won't do basic things of like his job because he figures he can just woo into me doing it. I don't want to work with somebody like that. Why would I pay for me to have to work more? I'd rather just pay myself more and do better. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, like, am I going to want to work with this person? No. Am I going to cast this person as a performer? No. Am I going to go around blacklisting this person because no. There's no good that's come from that, because this isn't somebody who's causing mass community harm. This isn't somebody who is a predator. This is just somebody who's a dude. And people are delusional about how perfect everybody apparently is because they like them or because they're charismatic. And it's like, no, I have no delusions. I understand that this person is popular. I don't see why. But that's a personal issue. And I can make the choice going forward of, like, with this information, I don't want to do this. And then when pertinent, on an interpersonal level, with people I trust, I've shared what like, the situation with them. They have information. They can go forward and make their own choices and adjustments with it. What I can do en masse is teach people what weaponized incompetence in the workplace looks like, so that when they encounter someone like this person or this person, they can shut it down like I did. Because that's more effective, that's more helpful in this scenario than anything else. Because, like, if I just go around saying, oh, this person is just evil, which, like, again, I don't know that, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't protect anybody. That doesn't help anybody. It hurts me in the end. I can tell you fucking what. It'll hurt me. And it didn't help anybody, and it didn't teach anybody anything. So what I want to do with these videos is give people the tools to recognize the behaviors that, like, are conducive to exploitation, and give them some tools to try to protect themselves. Now, it's also not perfect because, like, in the end, I still had to work with this person. Like, again, I've had to work with this person before. I will have to work with this person somewhere again. And I will continue to maintain my firm boundary. But it could also very well be that eventually I end up at a production where this person is, like, my boss's best friend. Where, like, I am maybe no longer in the position where I can set a boundary that I've been setting so, like, aggressively. And then it'll just be a matter of me wondering, like, okay, is the money enough for me to be able to swallow this bad job and, like, still be okay? Or is it not worth it and I need to leave? You know, I'm not here to teach people what to do in an ideal world. I'm here to give people the skills to protect themselves and create safe environments in the world that we have to deal with, you know? I can't eradicate all of these systemic issues. I can just give you tools to try to navigate them in a way that protects you more. Plus, in an ideal scenario, or in a safer environment, I would have been able to file a bit of a complaint with a third party. And maybe we would have been able to handle it in a way that actually would have given more actionable change instead of me having to be a bitch, quote unquote, and, like, continue to set my boundaries really firmly and demand better from this person. Which, like, did I get it? No, but I tried. And then I just, you know, you figure things out, you make it work. It has to work out somehow. But hopefully, if somebody recognizes that it's happening, they'll be in a position where they will have the tools and the system in place to be protected and not just have to fight their own battles the whole time. It's exhausting. Sometimes I think about the situations that I have been in streams, and I wonder how I didn't break the laws of physics, jump through the screen, and throttle people. In one stream, and I can't say more specifics than this, I really, really can't, but in one stream, I got misgendered. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over 40 times. By 2 people. Ironically, the only person who never misgendered me was the only cishet dude. He was very nice. It was kind of crazy. It was wild that that happened. Oops. Sorry, I had to respond to something. But yeah, isn't that crazy? How did I not kill everybody involved? I don't know. It's wild. Sometimes you look back, you're just like, wow, that was insanely disrespectful. Now, for most people, maybe this might not be a, like, wow moment because, you know, especially, like, given, like, different identities, you are used to being disrespectful in many cases. Here's the thing. I never got used to it. And to be fair, whoever really does get used to it, But I'm a, like, pick a fight type of person. So I'm stunned that, like, that was so horrible that it even got me to, like, not fight. And, like, I mean, I argued the whole time, but, like, I didn't beat ass like I wanted to. I wanted so fucking... I know, right? Me? Never. Do you know... Several people recently told me that they think that I'm really nice, and I was like, have you met me? Me? Me. Okay. I was like, you obviously don't know me very well. But that's okay. There's still time. It's just... You see so much performative bullshit. Like, so much annoying shit. And so much disrespectful shit. It's a miracle half people that I've talked to still have teeth. Thank you. I was a big Honey Badger fan back in the Tumblr teen days. I thought that animal was fucking tight. I also... The Honey Badger, me, and Denji from Chainsaw Man have one thing in common. When we fight, we go for the it's nuts or nothing. I fight dirty. Why the fuck do you ever not fight dirty? Are you stupid? You want to win. Here's the thing. I'm never nice. I am kind, because that is genuine. But nice is performative, and I don't do that shit. I am not friendly, and I am not nice. Also, hi, first time chat. It is still, like, the base idea, yeah. I'm kind in the way that, like, if you evoke kindness, you'll get it. If you annoy me, you will not. That's it. I don't take disrespect. I don't coddle things. I do not beat around the bush. I also come from a culture that does not beat around the bush. Like, we find it disrespectful to beat around the bush. Because to me, if you beat around the bush with me, to me, like, culturally, like, it insinuates that you think that I am too weak or too stupid to handle what you're trying to tell me. So it's really insulting. Versus, like, when I came to the States, and it's the opposite. Where, like, if you don't beat around the bush, then you're, like, aggressive and, like, you're aggressive and, like, mean. And, like, attacking someone, and it's just like, no, I was just trying, like, I cannot beat around the bush, because to me that is a massive sign of disrespect, and I would never do that. If I ever beat around the bush with somebody, it's basically my way of telling them that I think that they are dumb. I cannot beat around the bush. I don't have it in me. Then I'm just not nice. Also, like, you know, people always say, like, oh, people know you should take the high road. No, I go to hell. Depending on what somebody did. Again, it's nuts or nothing. Honey Badger, Denji, me. Yep. That was my favorite fight sequence of an anime that I've ever seen in my life. Denji beating the shit out of Aki, and, like, I love Aki. I love Aki. And these are, I'm not going to talk about Chainsaw Man spoilers. Don't worry. But, the scene... It's nuts or nothing, Brandy 2020. Again, to be fair, though, it's not my quote. It's directly from Chainsaw Man. I can't take credit for that. It has been my philosophy, but not in those words. My words have always been, of course I fight dirty, I'm fighting to win. It is very funny to me that people find the, like, blunt delivery of things really comforting. I'm glad, because it's all I've got to offer. But it is very funny to me. What I notice is that there are a lot of people that think that I'm always joking. Which, like, I am often being silly. I use a lot of hyperbole. But, like, the, like, combativeness is not a joke. That is my personality. That's where we're at. And that's where we've arrived after, like, a decade of therapy. So this is pretty solid. This is not going anywhere. You know, a lot of Americans have said that. Probably because you have to listen to people be nice and friendly all day. Which, like, frankly, if I still worked in, like, a place where I was in public and, like, in person, I would also be losing my mind. I have had to sit through some very performative bullshit, but at least I don't have to make small talk with everybody that comes by my station. I'm not good at that shit. I do not like that. It's also very funny that, like, traits that, like, some people say, like, oh, these are autistic traits here in the States. And it's like, no. In my country, that's common sense. It's funny to see where there's overlap. Where, like, in my country, we wouldn't be able to differentiate between is that an autistic trait or is that, like, just a cultural trait, because we're all like that. Where it's like, oh, if you're bad at small talk in America, it can be indicative of the fact that you have, you know, a different operating system in your brain because you're not conforming to the way that most people here do it. Versus in Germany, it didn't. Me not doing small talk doesn't tell anybody shit in Germany because nobody there does small talk. Nobody likes that shit. Nobody does it. It's. Why would you do that? It's like, like the amount that Americans do, the way they do it. It's very different. I'd rather somebody hate me, but be honest. Yeah, I also prefer that people hate me to my face. And I have had to surprise some people because they'll be like, oh, well, you would never say that and that to their face. And somebody once said that to me. Was it a conference? It was like we were like mingling. You know, like some conferences, you have like your boards, like with your research and stuff. And you can like mill around and people are like walking around and mingling and like looking at the different presentations. And you can walk away from your poster. Or like you can walk back and if people are looking at it, you can talk to them about it. And somebody said some shit to me. I said some shit about... They brought up somebody that I couldn't stand, that I thought horrible work, was a shit person. And I basically said that they do horrible work and they're a shit person. And they have a crap personality. And the other person was like, oh, I bet you'd never say that to their face. And I like turned around and I called the person we were talking to, who came over, and I said it to their face. Which, like, they weren't shocked. I've said it to their face before. And they were like, yeah. I know. And I like turned to the person and I was just like, and you were saying? Do not try me. I will be a dick. I'm not under any illusion that that's like a nice thing to do. It's not. I don't care. It's not like I run around hating everybody for no reason. Usually if I like someone, there's a damn good reason. Oh my god. Okay, I will not eat this one on camera. But this is 1, 2, 3... This is 3 layers of extreme chip. Oh! Now that would piss me off. That would also piss me off. That would piss me off extremely. Ooh. Yep. I hate that shit. If you're gonna talk about shit, be ready to talk about it everywhere. I'm ready. I stay ready. When I omit names and shit, it's because I don't want to invite drama, but if somebody decides the shoe fits and they come at me, I am ready. And I will be fine. But like, that is just some cowardly shit. No, that is horrible. That is annoying. I have heard before that you mentioned that your boss sucks. And I get that. I see that. Also, like, who is this person to decide you need to fucking work harder? Stupid. That is a really frustrating situation. That is embarrassing. Sorry, again, the mold makes like the tip of my nose really itchy. That is simply embarrassing. I have had a 60-something-year-old person have beef with me before, and it was extra embarrassing because they've had beef with me since I was 7. So for 20 years, sorry, so since they were 40, they've had beef with me for existing. Literally, it is like having beef with a child. Like, what are you doing? I mean, this is embarrassing. Some people are old and not wise. That's all I can say about that, really. Smart. Let's do it. and YouTube, see what happens. We didn't last. That one was pretty. That's cool. You know what? I know we've seen this before, but oh wait, no. Should we? Let's watch a goat meet an aardvark. Let's watch a goat meet an aardvark. Cool. Hello. Why do they always give goats like old lady names? Ow. Oh Lord. Aww. This is Tiny Goat Visits Aardvark by the Oregon Zoo. I've never been to Oregon and I did not ride Joe. Wow. That thing has 50 pounds on me, I'm not gonna lie. That thing could crush me and I'd be very happy about it. A baby. That's true, he isn't. What? What did you say? I just feel like aardvarks are aliens. I just feel like that's what we should be getting from this. Oh. Oh, I love it when animals explore. Now that goat is immediately like, what the fuck is that? The babe. Oh. Baby. It is hard to not pick up a scent trail. Goats are very sneaky. It can get on two legs? I'm sorry. What? Oh. Well. That was very nice. My goat's named Wemberly and Sergeant Fluffington III. Oh. That's lovely. I love that you have goats. Goats are very, yeah. They're so talkative. There was a petting zoo with goats near where I grew up. They always had babies. They always had babies. I don't know how that happened, but they always had babies. I do not think they had names, though. Like, at least they didn't have, like, public names. It was a petting zoo, but it's like a little, like, park zoo thing. Whew. But okay, you guys, it's been 3 hours. I did get a lot of scripting done. I covered a lot of ground. So I'm gonna call it a night. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I should be getting ready for bed and at least resting, because I am gonna be on my weekly stream tomorrow with Unmade Gaming tomorrow night. So, or tonight, I guess already. So I'm gonna go rest. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks for all the aardvark breaks, and thanks for everything else. See you guys very, very soon. I hope everybody has a good night or eve time zone. Yes, we did. We laughed, we learned, we saw cute artworks. So that's really all you can want from a Twitch stream, I think. So thank you guys. Bye.